Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing? I had a wonderful night. I am filming right now because I just got home. And yes, it's dark out. It's actually 12:15 at midnight. I had my uncle's 80th birthday today. And God bless him, right? 80 years old. What a wonderful man he is, my Uncle Pete. I love you, Uncle Pete, and my Aunt Marie. I'll tell you, when Italians get together for a celebration, boy, do we know how to party, huh? So what we're going to talk about right now is something that we haven't talked about in a while. It's been actually about 2 years since I've talked about this, and I talked about this on my other channel before it went bye-bye, right? Grand solar minimum, okay? An expert, and I've looked this woman up, and I've studied a little bit about what she has done and said, and yada yada, okay? And she's good. She's good. She's an expert in energy particles and solar flares. She once warned that between the years of 2020 and 2053 that the world would enter into a grand solar minimum, resulting in extreme cold as well as widespread food shortages. Her name is Valentina Zarkova. She is a prominent solar researcher with an extensive academic background, and she pegged the 2030s as being the years when such calamities are most likely to hit. All right, well, we're already in 2023, so we got 7 years to go before I guess we really start to feel the bad stuff, I guess you could say, okay? Now, interestingly enough, Valentina, back in 2000, she made like a prediction, if you will, okay? More like an educated guess. And she said that things would probably start to kick off about 2020. And they proved to be true because the pandemic appeared out of nowhere, all right? Now, remember, she said that these things would start to happen between 2020 and 2053. Well, here comes 2020. And boom, thin air. What do we got? Right? So, while the pandemic did not result in like cold temperatures or anything wild and crazy on planet Earth, it did create worldwide food shortages and supply chain problems. Who can forget the Suez Canal and the backlog of all the shipping containers? As well as the shut-ins or the lockdowns, whatever you want to call them. And the first introduction to the new normal. That's what people are calling it, the new normal. Several countries have already made this new normal permanent. And things will never, I don't care what anybody says, things will never be the same again for anyone in the post-Miss 19 age, okay? And if you're wondering what Miss 19 is, please use your imagination. Okay. One reason being is that Miss 19 is never going to go away. Ever. They will continue to harp on about the latest, newest Miss 19, the new outfits, if you will. All right. I have to use code here. Until Kingdom Come and a pandemic treaty for global enslavement that will persist until the end of the world is now being mapped out. I don't know if you realize that, but it's the truth. So in a 2019 interview, Valentina, she warned with great seriousness that ever since 2015, solar activity has been decreasing in such a way that it has only ever been seen during a grand solar minimum. The last of which occurred during the Maunder, and that's MAUNDER minimum, which took place 400 years ago. And I know I probably said Maunder wrong, but please excuse my accent and my Philly, Jersey accent and the way that I speak, okay? But it's the truth. So, citing research from NASA and NOAA, or NOAA, Valentina says that the data and the evidence is there in black and white. It's right in front of your face. It's just that nobody with any kind of official status is talking about it. And this is only because this is just the beginning of this grand solar minimum period. The worst of which is still yet to come. So she goes on to explain that between cycle 25 and 11 years of cycle 26, which is the least active cycle, and between cycle 26 and cycle 27 will be the coldest period on Earth. And we will feel it through a lack of vegetation. So the farmers will feel this even more, and the consumers will feel it secondhand, because you're not going to be able to get produce, fruits and veg at the store. Our gardens will not flourish, that type of thing, okay? So in other words, from the second half of this current decade through the early 2050s, the Earth is going to experience exceptionally cold weather, all sorts of extreme weather events, earthquakes in various places, volcanic eruptions. And in her view, the early 2030s will see the worst of it. So the climate is certainly changing. There is no doubt about that, as is the entire solar system. In recent years, the sun's activity has changed dramatically, and this being the biggest factor in climate change. Not eating meat, not driving cars, you know, not anything like that, okay? It's the sun's activity. And the sun's activity is the primary driver of the Earth's climate. The question is why they are not warning us about what is truly on the horizon, as they are likely well aware of it. Even more concerning is why they are misleading the world's governments and people into believing that the threat is warmth. Potential answers to these questions are unsettling. So for people who say, well, you know, climate change, I'm up in the air with climate change, I don't know if it's real, I don't know. Climate change is, the potential is there, but it's because of the sun and the activity of the sun. It has nothing to do with eating meat or eating less meat or eating no meat. It doesn't have to do with the car and this and the that and the, your footprint or whatever on, internet and stuff. It has nothing to do with that. It's the sun. So there are two books, and they're by this author. His name is John L. Casey. Cold Sun, which was published in 2011, as well as Dark Winter, which was published in 2014. Both of these books warned about these very same calamities soon to come. This is why they have and they meaning the elites or whoever you want to refer to them as, okay, have enacted their plan to depopulate the planet by 2025 because it'll be easier to quell a small population revolt and lower demand on limited food supply. If you really think about it, if you really wanted to get down to the bare bones of this, that's what it's really truly all about. So the 2030s is going to be the worst of it. So what do we do? Do we just keep prepping our butts off, hope and pray that, you know, it doesn't get as bad as we think it could be? Sure. I was always told, I'll never forget, that with climate change, the weather is going to switch. You know how up north they have the 4 seasons. They have summer, fall, winter, spring, right? Well, down here, you have summer for like 10 months out of the year, and then you'll have like 2 months where it's like, okay, you know, mid 60s, and then in the at night it's like, you know, like in the 40s. I remember growing up being told that that's going to one day switch due to climate change, where the lower part of the United States is going to get the 4 seasons, and the northern part of the United States is going to have like the Florida weather, if that makes sense. Did I, you know, say that correctly? And that was all due to climate change. And I remember hearing about this, geez, back in the 90s, you know, so it's not like climate change is anything new, because I literally remember hearing about people talking about this since the 90s. So maybe it's just people are just, you know, making a big deal out of it now. I don't know. But, you know, I remember hearing about that. But this 2030s thing up into the 2053, this is new to me. I did not know about this. And I don't know if you knew about it either. So, you know, how do you prepare for something like this? Because it's going to be the coldest that it's ever been and stuff like that. Well, for those of us that either live up north or have lived up north, but we live in warmer climates, will we be able to acclimate? I'm sure. You know, but we just have to worry about our younger ones and our elders, because their bodies might not be able to acclimate to such weather. Yes. All right, guys, it's just something to think about, okay? I will see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fear less. Ciao.